Welcome into the Bad Fan Podcast. I am your host, Cole Carter, and we are back, and we're glad to have you tuned in with us today. It is May 24th, 2022, and welcome along to those of you on Spotify listening to us today. We're geared up and ready for kickoff here on the Bad Fan Podcast. If you are viewing this on YouTube, then go ahead and leave a like for today's episode. And to those of you who are new around here, we would love it if you would be subscribed to the channel. Becoming a Bad Fan is easy and made better by clicking the bell below this video to get notifications for all new videos. That way you're always connected to all things Bad Fan. Well, I'm glad to have you all in here today. I'm going to bring in my co-host Brandon Patesnick to help get this thing along. It's going to be a great day today, but wanted to get you guys in to talk about a little bit. You know, we've been gone for a little over 2 weeks. We had an incident. Brandon, you had a case of the vid.
I did.
You feeling better now?
Yeah, much better now. Terrible timing. I was ready to do the podcast, and then Monday hit. I was sick. Just couldn't. There's no way it was gonna be good. But I'm healthy. I'm feeling great. For all of you who are wondering. Yeah.
And then right after that, so Brandon got the vid. We had some just run-ins with life, and then I headed off to Europe for a little over a week. So just had a lot going on in our lives, but we're back on things here at the Bad Fan to get you guys caught up on everything that we've missed. Today's going to be a nice, refreshing Premier League roundup of the season. The 2021-22 Premier League season just ended this past week, and it was an amazing season, coming down literally to the wire, down to the last minutes of the season in tremendous fashion. But we did go to Nashville this past weekend. We had a good time. We went to go watch the Atlanta United Nashville game. It was a bit crazy, a bit topsy-turvy. The game had an over 3-hour rain delay. We didn't get to finish, but hey, Atlanta United got the draw 2-2. A good result for the Five Stripes.
Good result.
Not good news, though, having Andrew Gutman now out 6 to 8 weeks with an injury. Atlanta United just keeps grabbing that injury bug.
But that's not what matters. I got to see you for the first time in a while.
I know, it was good.
I don't know, when was the last time I saw you? Was it when you were up here in Columbus after your last London trip?
I think back in January, mate.
Maybe I saw you on my birthday in March. I think I was in Atlanta.
I did see you for your birthday.
Okay, well.
But, hey, it was good
it's
to have
few and far between
together.
now. So
I know.
It's nice. It was nice to see you this weekend. And Steve. I got to see Steve, too.
This podcast serves as a way to keep up and to see face-to-face. But, hey, it's not as good as in person. But to you guys, listeners and viewers, we're just glad to have you guys joining in with us today as well. After our hiatus, it's going to be a good episode. And we're going to get things started here, just talking about how Manchester City are back-to-back Premier League champions, and I think a lot of pundits at the beginning of the season maybe didn't see this one happening. They could have potentially seen maybe Chelsea, maybe Manchester United, but were the people really thinking Manchester City could repeat, Brandon?
For sure. I mean, on paper, they have the most well-rounded team, especially after a $100 million transfer for Jack Grealish, who didn't really feature a whole lot. I shouldn't say he didn't feature. He did play a good amount, but it's just hard to make a name for yourself in a team like Manchester City. But everyone is so good. Again, I'll say it again. They're very machine-like. Everybody they're a cog in this massive Manchester City wheel, this Pep Guardiola wheel. And so I don't know if they were favorites. I assume they were. But I was really expecting things from Chelsea at the beginning of the season. I don't remember if you remember us talking about that, but coming off of a Champions League win, some good transfers during the summer, I thought. I mean, I thought they might be able to take it to Liverpool and City this year, but it didn't really end up happening.
Yeah, it didn't. And the table ended up looking a little bit like this. So you had Manchester City finishing just 1 point above Liverpool. I mean, literally, we told you guys, this thing came down to the wire. Liverpool, they were trying to score as many goals as they could against Wolves. They were down early, came back. I think they won the game 3-2, if I remember correctly. And then Manchester City going against up the villains, Aston Villa, your team, Brandon.
We look good. We
And
look good for like
oh
60
man,
minutes, 70 minutes.
it was such a great watch, and we thought that they had it in the bag. They were up 2-0 at the 60th minute, and within less than 7 minutes apiece, Man City scored all 3 goals that they needed to secure their title.
It's a crazy game. It was a crazy game. But Philippe Coutinho's goal was absolutely beautiful. Maybe the best goal of the day. I don't know. But yeah, crazy fashion to lose. I expected to lose. Like, there's no way we were going to hold out Manchester City. And once they got their steam rolling, like, they're just so good. They're just so good. So good for them.
So yeah, they beat out Liverpool. Liverpool coming out on great form, but just not enough at the end of the day. Chelsea coming in third. A solid season for them. I still think a disappointing season, as we said, coming off the Champions League and also some big signings, but falling short of their expectations, not even within 15 points to other teams. And then Tottenham sneaking in to the top 4 after a bit of a whirlwind of a season. We'll probably touch on that a bit, but starting out with Nuno Espirito Nunes, Santos, sorry, getting his last name, Nuno Espirito Santos, and sacking him after only 11 games, and Antonio Conte coming in and salvaging Tottenham's season to get Champions League in the top 4, which pushed Arsenal down to 5th. They'll be playing Europa League football after a huge North London derby.
Where it's not so good.
But also not so bad. And I think the team that perhaps underachieved the most this season, Manchester United, coming in, signing Cristiano Ronaldo, already coming off a great season last year with Bruno Fernandes. They sacked their manager in, I think, late November, early December. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer not making it through the season. So, Man U, really the flop of the season. Do you agree?
Yeah, it was just really weird. I will also say I wanted to mention Chelsea. They're all that stuff with their owner. It's like for them to finish third still, and it's. I will give credit to them for that. I think they underperformed definitely, but there was a lot of stuff going on in that club this season. So they'll be playing Champions League football next year. I think that's really all they care about. We will see what happens going forward with the new owners, if that actually officially goes through. If it hasn't already, I don't think it has. So, yeah, but Man U definitely, they still got Europa League, which is good. I know they're known for the trophies and playing Champions League and being on this, but they haven't really been at that level. And I'm sure they were hoping to get there this year, but terrible team management. I don't think Ralph Ragnick's a very good coach, but also like just the Man U owners, it's a crap show over there. But when the season starts anew next year, I'm sure the hype will be up with Ten Hag coming in. He's already been making some headliners, so we'll see what he has to say about that. I will also say Villa, I think, severely underperformed this year. Steven Gerrard did not bring this team up to a higher level than where Dean Smith would have brought them, in my opinion. But I guess we'll never know. So I guess as a Villa fan, I'll be biased here and just put my little 2 cents in. I'm hoping we'll have a good transfer window, which we already have. We've already started.
Yeah.
We officially signed Coutinho, and we signed this guy named, I think he's kid. He's like 23, named Boubacar Samara from Marseille, who's like the next holding midfielder for France, basically. So very, very exciting stuff on the Villa end. But I think they really underperformed this year.
Not so bad.
Everton. Sorry, Everton is the most underperforming team.
Yeah, I mean,
we'll
Everton,
get to them.
We've talked to that many times through the season, how this is a club that's, one of the biggest in England, and the fact that looking at this table, they finished 16th just shows a fall of grace this season. Certainly underperforming, but they survive. They do survive. The 3 teams that do get sent down to the championship are Norwich City. No surprise there. They've been playing ping pong between the Premier League and Championship. Watford, a similar story as well. Those two teams just not doing enough to succeed in the Premier League for more than a season and falling back down to Championship. But a team that's been in the Premier League for, I think, close to a decade or more is Burnley, and they finally just don't do enough in the season. They fired Sean Dyche, I think, back in March, and Mike Jackson just not being able to do enough to salvage Burnley's season, and they finally get sent down to the Championship themselves, which means Leeds United, the team that was down for 17 years, gets another shot at the Premier League and will look to expand upon their success in the Premier League under Jesse Marsch, the American, who took over after what's his name?
Marcelo Bielsa.
Yes, Bielsa, who brought up Leeds to the Championship, made his way to the Premier League, left his mark for sure, but just wasn't getting the results that he needed in the Premier League. So Jesse Marsch does the job, helps keep them up, and Frank Lampard doing the same with Everton, just scratching away. It was not pretty in the least bit, but they get 4 points above the relegation line and stay up for another season in the Premier League, extending their streak of over 60 years to stay in the Premier League. But really just a season that I think at the end of the day was just headlined by Liverpool and Manchester City. Their title race that seemingly is expected at this point. Just two teams that have such incredible star players, teams that are expected to go the way each and every year. And they are filled with players that will round up some awards late in the season, which we are going to give a look at our awards of what we would hand out for Players of the Year, goalkeepers, all this rounded up in one episode. So we'll start with the Player of the Season, Brandon, and I want to hear your thoughts of who you thought would dominate the league this past season, the ones that would deserve some love. We'll start with you, the Player of the Season in the Premier League.
You know, it's probably the three best players in the Premier League, arguably, and pretty much every year, to be honest. I mean, these three guys that we're going to note here are absolutely phenomenal, and one of them doesn't get talked about enough ever, and he's absolutely world class. And I'll start with him. It's Heung-min Son from Tottenham. He is the Premier League's Player of the Year. 23 goals, 7 assists in 35 matches. Sharing the Golden Boot this year with Mo Salah, on a Tottenham team that took a long time to shift into gear. One, just to get to the Golden Boot, it's absolutely amazing. But he and obviously Harry Kane, I mean, the whole team, they really came together towards the end of the season and made a very large push for top four, and they got it. And he is not the sole reason, but he is probably the biggest reason they got that fourth spot.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, Tottenham had a crazy season starting under Nuno, getting to November. And the most laughable game of the season, you had El Sacico, the one that whoever won the game was going to keep their manager, whoever lost the game was going to lose their manager between Solskjaer and Nuno. Tottenham lost to Man U. Nuno gets fired, and people didn't know what to expect in response. And Antonio Conte comes in and revitalizes this Tottenham team, and Heung-min Son is at the centerpiece of that. Coming into 2022, he had only scored 8, I think, of his 23 goals. And so 2022, he scores 15 goals to finish out the season, which, like we said, was that push to get Tottenham in a Champions League and the top four. And what's fascinating, I think, just stupid and crazy, is that in the Premier League Player of the Season award, he wasn't even in the short list.
Really?
Not even nominated for it, which is, I think, insane. You had Conor Gallagher in the Player of the Season nomination, not even Heung-min Son. So just to show, I think, how either biased it is, the fact that Sonny is a South Korean Asian player, that maybe he's overlooked more than an Englishman, or just whatever it is. But yeah, underrated, but not for us. I think Sonny has to be the Player of the Season. Kevin De Bruyne is class, Mo Salah is class, but Sonny, the fact that he helped bring this Tottenham team to the top four is pretty incredible. And doing it with the right foot, the left foot, doing it all through the season is pretty incredible to me. Not to mention, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to mention Salah's statistics a little bit. And obviously, it doesn't always come down to statistics. Like I said, Heung-min Son was really that sole He was one of the main drives to get Tottenham up there. But Salah was really consistent this year throughout the whole season, I'd say, with 23 goals, 14 assists. They score a lot. They play a style of football that, allows these very, very skilled players to put up these high numbers. But you still have to do it. And Mo Salah was he Ballon d'Or this year? Maybe who knows.
I'm ready to see a new face win the Ballon d'Or. I'll tell you that.
And I really think it could be him this year.
Him or Robert Lewandowski, I think, could both either take the award.
Yeah, very true. But then De Bruyne, I think he's my favorite player in the world. 15 goals, 8 assists in 30 matches. Like I sort of mentioned earlier, it's really hard to stand out in that Man City team. And at some points, he was just like he almost had a different bite to him this year. He was like driving and he's always done that, but like he wanted to score goals. He wanted to make things happen more than normal. It seemed like. I think coming off the back of that Champions League loss, you sort of saw that he sort of just like shifted into a different gear.
Had that 4-goal performance.
Absolutely amazing.
I do agree. I think Kevin is the best player in the world, just like all around. I think he adds the most to a team. Mm-hmm. You've had Messi and Ronaldo for years that can control the game and score amazing goals, but I think Kevin just like is the biggest playmaker, difference maker. The fact that he can control a midfield, hold that position, but he can also get forward and score amazing goals. I think his balls into the box, I think, are the best in the world. I think people say Trent Alexander-Arnold can put in a great ball, but
yeah, both of
them. Kevin's ability to send a ball in just right to someone's head is pretty incredible. So his distribution, his playmaking ability, his shot from outside the box is pretty incredible. I think he's got to be the most biggest difference maker, which I could easily see why he won the official Premier League Player of the Season. But for me, I agree. Heung-min Son has to be the Player of the Season.
That's my vote. Sonny is my vote for sure. But those two other guys, you can't really be mad about it, I don't think.
Hey, Sonny, baby. Well, there's the Player of the Season and there's the Young Player of the Season. And like you said, there's guys that are hard to stick out on the Man City team, but one of them that is on the younger side is Phil Foden. He came in, played 28 games this season, 62% of his minutes, had 9 goals, 5 assists, and I think he showed that you have to be under 21 at the start of the season, so it's a bit of a specific category, but I think, and you and I probably agree that he had to have been the guy under 21 that stuck out the most, had the biggest impact, made a name for himself, helped lead Manchester City to that back-to-back title. Do you think he's the one that's deserving of the title for this one?
Yeah, and I think I said this on the previous podcast. Like, he's the best young player in the world for sure. The way he can carry the ball, the way his just skill, it's just easy to him. I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen a player at that age, like me watching, I'm just like, he has almost everything. I don't know. Like, he's just so good. He's quick too. Like, he can play multiple positions. He's almost like Pep's like creation, like Pep's Frankenstein. Almost like Pep has brought him from the age of 16 and like just created this beast of a player, and it's really fun to watch him play. I'd say Philly for that one.
Phil. Who would be, if it wasn't Phil, who would be the one that you would look at that could be deserving of the award, but maybe just not as much as Phil?
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if people would vote for this guy, and it's Bukayo Saka out of Arsenal. Again, if you follow the Premier League at all, Arsenal probably has the best academy to first team route in the Premier League. They do a very, very good job of getting their youth players ready to play at such a high level. And this is the perfect example. I mean, he plays for the national team, and he has been. He was in the World Cup, the Euros. I don't know if he was on the World Cup team, but he was at the Euros. And this he's so good. He's only 21 too, but he played all 38 games too. Think about the endurance. Like he played every single game, and he played 88% of the minutes for Arsenal. Yeah. Like he was almost on the field the whole entire time. in the Premier League. And
Hey, well, it's easy when your team doesn't play in Europe because they're so bad they don't even make it. But so it's easier to play 38 games instead of more
true,
than that. But
true. To be fair, right. No, but 11 goals, 7 assists. So stat line is better than Phil Foden. But again, like team's play style, like obviously allows for Saka to stand out more than Phil. So anywho, um, I'm glad you mentioned that because Saka has to be mentioned. What a player he is, and it sort of sucks that they're both English and none of them are American. I wish an American was on this list.
yeah, I think the crazy thing is that we'll be watching these two for a long time.
Yes.
And the fact that they're showing such ability at young ages will be fun to watch. I've said this before, as a Tottenham fan, I want to see in some ways like these Arsenal guys, your rivals to be good because you want those games to matter even more. You want to be able to beat good teams, beat good players. So, the fact that Saka is a high performer means it feels even better when we beat them 3-0. So, just throwing out there. But yeah, I would say Phil Foden, young player of the season as well. We're agreeing on that one. And I think we're probably going to agree on this one. The Golden Gloves, the keeper of the season in the Premier League. This team, like we said, underperformed, and their defense severely underperformed. I think they were the reason why this team fell all the way they did in the table. And I think we'll say that David De Gea deserves the keeper gloves of the season for Manchester United. This guy salvaged what Man U even had in their season. Just his ability to save their games. I think he had some of the most saves of the Premier League in the season. Not getting as many clean sheets, but just the fact that the saves he's able to make, his ability to be like a cat in the air and just be so nimble. His reaction saves, I think, are second to none. I think he probably deserves the Golden Gloves this season. Would you agree?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you want to say, oh, Ederson, oh, whatever, it's just like, that's boring. This David De Gea was the best keeper this season. I mean, one-on-one saves that I saw, goals that should have been goals and would have been a goal if any other keeper was in the cage, other than David De Gea. I mean, him and I've said this before, him and Ronaldo, like these at the top of the field and the last person on the field, just carrying Manchester United into Europa League. David De Gea was in really good form. What was it, like 4 years ago? Then had a year where he like dropped off, and it was like Dean Henderson was about to start, who's also a good keeper. But yeah, David De Gea is showing his true class this year. Whether he really wanted to or not, he was asked to by his defense and slabhead Harry Maguire. So yeah, David De Gea. I think I might have talked too long on that one, but yeah, David De Gea.
Yeah, his ride at Man U has been interesting to say the least. But we'll give him the Golden Gloves and the manager of the season. This could be many a people could get the manager of the season. You could have the Pep and Klopp argument, the two teams at the top. Pep looking to get the treble after not getting the quadruple on the Premier League. He still has some chance at some hardware in the Champions League final against Real Madrid in the upcoming weekend.
You said Pep, you meant Klopp.
Klopp. And Pep will probably never get the Champions League trophy, so he'll never be able to win a quad. But some other coaches, what are some names that you could throw around for a manager of the season, Brandon?
I'd probably, if I was voting, I'd probably say Eddie Howe at Newcastle would probably get my vote. Yeah, Pep and Klopp are obviously great. I think Tuchel's a great coach, but just what the season has brought and like the turnaround. I mean, Eddie Howe has turned that Newcastle team around, and they finished, I think, 11th from what I just saw. So Eddie Howe would get my vote, but then there's Arteta at Arsenal. I think they have the youngest squad in the Premier League, and for them to finish almost in a Champions League spot, they finished in a Europa League spot. Now he can finally test his wits in the Europa League against really good opponents, playing multiple games a week. We will see what that turns into, but I'll clap my hands for Arteta there, and I'll let you talk about Antonio Conte.
Well, Antonio Conte turned Tottenham season around.
Yeah,
A team that
definitely.
was close to the bottom half of the table when he took over. A club that needed a restart, a club that needed someone to, give them a kick in the butt and give them some motivation to work their way back into the Champions League football, and give Harry Kane a reason to stay at Tottenham. He was trying to force his move to Manchester City last summer. That fell through. He wasn't happy. He was sort of, like, this is sort of it if you're going to give me Nuno. Nuno does not get the job done. Antonio Conte comes in and does a great job. And really, I would love to give him the Manager of the Season award, but now that I think about it, he wasn't there a full season. And I think he would say, the job isn't done. He wants to go and he wants to win a title in the Premier League. So hopefully he'll be getting for it next season. If I had to choose, you think about Graham Potter getting his best finish with Brighton. He's a good shout. This is a weird Brighton team where I think they had a terrible home record this season. I think they had one of their worst home records, but managed to do pretty well, I think, on the road and had one of their best finishes in the Premier League. So maybe they can make some moves to improve that side. They're obviously not going to get a lot of funds, but maybe they can do a bit to improve, maybe find their way into European football next season, maybe sneak into the Conference League. That'd be a team to keep an eye out on. Graham Potter's a great manager.
Yeah.
If he stays at Brighton for the future, he could maybe make them into a household name in the Premier League, and they may not go down for a long time if that's the case. So I think maybe not Manager of the Year. I do think at this point, I think Klopp probably deserves it. Just his ability to have won FA Cup, have won the Carabao Cup. Incredible in the Premier League. It's hard to, I saw a stat how Sir Alex Ferguson never got, I think, above 91 points or like 89 points in a season, and he won like a dozen
Yeah,
Premier League titles or whatever it is. And then you have Jurgen Klopp, who in his 4 or 5 seasons has had like 91 points or more every year. So really an amazing manager. I think if I'm just going to be honest, I would just give it to him. I think Liverpool's success has flourished under his management, and I think it's not the Premier League winning season they had in the lockdown, but this is probably the best season I think Liverpool has had, and I think he deserves my Manager of the Year award.
Yeah, and you can make an argument for Pep too. They played all year without a striker. Gabriel Jesus came in like ultimately, and I guess was their striker, but they were playing like this hybrid where he like played striker, but was also on the wing. I don't know, very tactical as Pep always is, but I don't know, crazy that they won the league without playing really a
2 years in a
striker.
row. 2 years in a row they've done this.
I don't know, and now they have Haaland, so we'll see. We'll preview that. We'll probably talk about that in another episode, but they continue to get better and better. So, yeah.
My goodness. Well, I think the thing that people are always looking forward to in the summer is the summer transfer window.
Yes.
And I feel like last season was a crazy summer. A lot of uncertainty. You're still coming out of the pandemic, which we talked or heard a lot about, what funds are available to these teams. A lot of teams were still in the red coming out of the pandemic, not making any money off of ticket sales and all that thing because fans just weren't allowed in full quite yet. But some big names did make moves. And eventually we got to see them play. And now that we finished the season, who would be your summer of 2021 signing of the season?
I think it has to be Cristiano Ronaldo for Man U. Again, a weird one to begin with because of what was, for those of you who don't know, Man City was supposedly going to sign him. And because Manchester United didn't want that to happen, they signed Ronaldo. That's the rumor, at least. So take that with a grain of salt. But I think we all wanted this to happen as fans, just to see him back, to see if he could do it. See him back in the Red Devils uniform. And good Lord, was he good. I mean, how many goals did he end up with? Do you know?
I think he finished with 18 goals.
So I think he finished third, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Third in the Golden Boot race behind a tied Golden Boot race. So, I mean, dude, he did everything he was and more. I think he exceeded my expectations, to be honest, and probably a lot of people's. Um, so yeah, him and De Gea carrying Man U into the Europa League. Yeah, he's definitely my best summer signing.
And what's crazy is we've said this too. I just don't understand the pundits' view of him.
I don't get it either.
Acting like he was worthless, washed up, like incapable of doing anything, and this man goes and finishes third in the Golden Boot race. Like he's Ronaldo.
Above Harry Kane.
Yeah, what did you want from him? He was never the one failing his team. He was the one that was carrying his team with De Gea, like we've said. And it was his defense. It was the rest of his team that was failing him. It was never Ronaldo. He was the one that was difference maker, the playmaker, the one that would score bangers. And I had never understood the slander and dragging him through the mud because I also thought he was going to be an incredible signing for Man U. But for me, sticking with Tottenham here, I think Tottenham made a fantastic signing, getting a player from Italy and Christian Romero, a Rolls-Royce defender who just brought so much tenacity to Tottenham. A team that had in the back, you had Jan Vertonghen and Toby Alderweireld for years, a staple that led Tottenham to that Champions League final in 18 and 19. And they had to move on. Those two guys were getting older. The Belgian nationals just weren't the same pairing that they were. So they had to move on from those two guys, and they had to find replacements. And Christian Romero had an outstanding year in Italy with Atalanta. And Tottenham secured the funds, got the man for $40 million. Which, when you start thinking about Harry Maguire going for 80, you start thinking about these big players and defenders going for big money. Getting this guy for only $40 million, he's still young. I think he's like 23 perhaps.
Wow.
And just put in some great performances in some of the biggest games. I think about like Manchester City, his performances there, just his ability to be aggressive, make clean tackles, aggressive hard tackles, and also his ability to be a distributor, much like Toby Alderweireld used to do, like some ping passes up front, getting the ball to Harry Kane and to the attackers. So for me, I think he's got to be that best summer signing just for his value, what he adds to the team, and his youth, which will be something that Tottenham fans like myself will be happy to see for years down the road. But the summer window isn't the only one that is available for new players to come in. January is the chance for teams that need that final push, just one more player to get them through the season, that are pushing for their goals. And this season, I think, probably was one of the best January transfer windows ever. A lot of teams talk about how it's hard to do business in January. It's not easy. You have expiring contracts. It's just shorter time window to get a deal done. You're pressing to get a deal done because you want to get those results as soon as possible. So it's not easy. It's not easy to get those guys in on January, but I think we have four names that stand out the most of what happened in January. I think the most obvious one for a lot of people, I think, is actually Luis Diaz, the signing that came to Liverpool. I think, did he come from Portugal?
Yeah, I don't know if it was Porto or...
I think it might have been Porto. Anyways, he comes in for Portugal. Tottenham were actually the ones that were in on him first. The rumors were pointing to Tottenham the whole time. And very late in the transfer process, Liverpool swoops in and snags him up, and he became a huge difference maker for Liverpool's season in all competitions, whether it be FA Cup, Carabao Cup, Champions League, and even in the Premier League. Luis Diaz in the Premier League finished with 4 goals and 3 assists. Was really just a fiery spark for Liverpool, wasn't he?
Yeah, he really was. I mean, he's phenomenal coming in and doing, just picking up all the tactics that Klopp wanted him to do. I mean, it's not easy to just hop right into a team. And then he was taking over starting time. I think it was a phenomenal signing by them. And there's, uncertainty about the future of Liverpool's attacking line, but I think you're looking at the future of their attacking line with Luis Diaz and Jota. And Liverpool, again, doing great business, getting him through the door in January. And, they still have a trophy to play for this upcoming weekend. So
yes, they do.
I'm sure he'll be wanting to play a role in that game.
I could only imagine so.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not trying to be biased. I'm just being factual here. But another great January signing was Deion Kulasevsky coming in from Juventus. This kid from Juventus, I mean, if he had a full season, I think he could have been deserving of the Young Player of the Year award. Man, just since his time in January, he finished the season with 5 goals and 8 assists. That is incredible.
Absolutely. No, he is the best January signing. 5 goals, 8 assists. He's young. It's insane. Is it a permanent deal yet?
Yes. Him and Christian Romero had loan deals with obligation to buy at the end of the season. So both of those are going to be finalized, and for a combined $60 million, those two players will be Tottenham players for the rest of their contracts. Isn't that insane? That is insane. Such good business.
That's very good business. Yeah, Kulasevsky, what an insane second half of the season. Best January signing. I'll let you speak more about him too, because it's very exciting, to be honest.
Oh yeah, I mean, Tottenham, obviously, having Sonny on the left wing, Harry Kane striking. You had Lucas Moura starting on the right wing, which Lucas is a great squad player to have. Obviously, a difference maker. We've seen that before. His Champions League heroics. Last season, he had a pretty solid season. But this year, he just needs some help on the wing. And under Antonio Conte, we needed someone that was able to get the ball to Harry Kane, get the ball to Sonny, and be able to track back as well and help out on the defensive side. So we bring in Deion Kulasevsky, a guy that was somewhat of a reject from Juventus. He's only young, but he just wasn't apparently in the eyes of Allegri to be part of their future. So Tottenham having Paratici and Antonio Conte with the Italian connection, especially to Juventus, have their eyes set on him and bring him in at such a low price and just an insane ability to hold on to the ball, get past those defenders, and just some beautiful crosses into the box with his left foot. Just such a sweet left foot. Even the last game of the season, he gets assists. He gets a beautiful goal from close to the corner of the box. So just an impressive player, and even loves walking around Buckingham Palace with his dog and running into fans like me. So, fun seeing him in the wild like that when I was in London. But, great player. Definitely excited to see what he can do for this Tottenham squad with a full season, hoping that, maybe he gets 15 assists next season, 10 goals, 15 assists. That would be an incredible stat, connecting with Sonny and Harry next season. But a guy that was a former Tottenham player, a guy that was dead last June, practically, Christian Erickson, making his return with Brentford, I think deserves at least a shout for January. Coming in on for free to Brentford, I think sort of salvaging their season, guaranteeing them safety. I think in the games that he started at one point, it was like 9 games they didn't even lose. So definitely making a big difference on their season coming off his January signing.
Yeah. I didn't think he was ever going to play again, and especially not at this high of a level. I got to be honest, I didn't watch much of Brentford once he was on the team. I just didn't watch much of Brentford at all, and just in general. But yeah, I think you're right. I mean, you just laid it out right there. He played a key role with 1 goal and 4 assists. Like, that's some good production. He is that assist guy, and doing it on a team that I don't think scores a ton of goals, and good for them. So we'll see. Was it a long-term? I don't think it was a long-term deal. Was it just a season?
Well, so that's the thing. It was only a 6-month contract. And so he's now up to either re-sign with Brentford, or he can make a return to Tottenham, or you could have teams. I think the general consensus is that he wants to sort of be around London. So he doesn't really want to leave the area. I think he enjoys living in London. So those two teams obviously are in the area and would be good fits for him, either making his return to Tottenham as they go to Champions League, or just kind of honoring what Brentford did, giving a chance on him, and now being able to lead that team next season. But yeah, I mean, those stats are good, but they don't reflect his creative ability on that team. I think his involvements were more than just the 1 goal and 4 assists. His creative playmaking ability really is what set his time this past 6 months apart with Brentford. So deserving of a shout. But just like me, you also have a signing that you're pretty proud of up with Aston Villa, huh?
Yeah, and I already mentioned him earlier, but it's Philippe Coutinho. Was it the 3rd most expensive transfer ever in the history?
At one point.
I think still is. Yeah. Villa get him on loan from Barcelona, which just saying that out loud, I'm just like, what in the world? Um, Comes through with 5 goals and 3 assists and a lot of starting time. I mean, he played a lot for us, especially once he got up to speed. He was really good, and he bought in. Like I didn't expect him to play much defense or get involved like that, and he didn't do it every game, but you just see the world class in him. And he's finding his footing in a team that's middle of the tape, middle of the pack, basically, with aspirations to go higher. So, yeah, we had to mention him, biasly or not. I think he was a great signing, and he's officially signed now, and I think it was for 20 million, which is a steal, and on 30% of his wages that he was at Barcelona. I don't know how they do it at Villa, but they keep getting these crazy deals done. But yeah, Philippe Coutinho, what a guy.
And Stevie G, him and those two having that Liverpool connection. Hopefully next season they can expand on that. And like you said, hope some aspirations to find their way at least into some European football for the first time in a long time.
Be great.
But there's some players that we've talked about, but now we'll talk about some matches of the season. I think, to me, there's just 2 of them that really stick out. We have the Liverpool-Manchester City matchup that was just, I think, an incredible one. That came, I think, in April. We had, 2 or 3 Liverpool-Man City matchups in a short time frame. This one came in the Premier League, ended up like in a 2-2 draw, just sublime, especially at that time of the season. Those 2 teams fighting the Premier League title race, but finishing honors even on that one. And I think for me, another one that really, really stuck out, I was even watching the highlights recently, was the Tottenham-Manchester City match where Tottenham gets up 1-0 early on a Kulasevsky goal, his, I think, first debut goal, I believe. And then, Manchester City comes back. They get within 1. Then Tottenham scores it to make it 3-1. No, they score 3-1. Goal gets called back. It's 2-1. And then Mahrez gets a penalty in the 91st minute. He sinks it, makes it 2-2. Harry Kane gets the 95th minute winner, and Tottenham wins 3-2. Just an incredible match as well. Those are the 2 games that stick out for me the most from this past Premier League season. I don't know if you had any, but
I
those
don't.
2 are just so
Definitely
incredible to watch.
Yeah. No, I've watched both of those. Those probably are the 2 best games of the season. Yeah, we already talked about that Liverpool Man City game. We were just like, if we could watch that every week, I mean, it'd be great. Yeah, again, go watch
Super
the full
League. Why don't we
game.
just do the Super League? We'll get it done.
No, not the Super League. So that's different. It's very different, very different. But yeah, both of those games are worth watching in full again. So go back and do that. I'm sure you can. But yeah, and I think we'll move on to the goal of the season now, which you could probably find these highlights somewhere as well.
Man, so many great goals this season. What was the one that stuck out to you the most?
Recency bias, but Gundogan's goal to clinch the title. Like if he, if they don't score that goal, they don't win the title. Liverpool takes it. So just the immense pressure that Man City was under. He was also a substitute on the day I think he scored 2 of their goals, and the one to win it. Just absolutely amazing. The drama, the storybook, part of soccer. It's romantic. It's very romantic. So that one is great. But I mean, Salah's goal versus City in that 2-2 draw it's just Salah. It's him, man. He's so good. And the fact that he's doing it against his direct opponent for the title, and at the time, the FA Cup, oh gosh, I'll probably watch it after we get done with this because it was so good.
Yeah, Salah's individual effort was just crazy to see. He's did that 4 years ago against Tottenham in the box, and I'm just like, it's insane, his footwork. His
it is.
In those tight spaces, his control is what I dream of. I can't keep a ball at my feet at all, and I'm just like, how does he do it with world-class defenders in front of him? It's insane.
Yeah, it's very insane. Do you remember any other ones?
Oh yeah, I've got a couple in my mind. I think about unfortunately. Ronaldo just having an absolute rocket against Tottenham. He had a hat trick on the day. He had a ball from like 30 yards out. He just
So good.
blasts into the top corner. That one sticks out. I think in February, maybe it was January, uh, Mateo Kovacic had a cool volley in a big game against Liverpool from like at the edge of the box, just one time, kind of like skipping a jump, volleys it.
That was good. I
And
remember that one.
then I was at the match in January with Tottenham versus Chelsea and Hakeem Ziyech. It was so good. Just like bends a ball. Literally, Lloris could have been perfect on a save, and he still had no chance. It was such an incredible goal. Um, and then sometime late in the winter, Damari Gray. This was such a fun game to watch. One of the few games that Everton actually did well in. He scores a banger late to beat Arsenal. I think it was like 3-2, which was just an awesome game to watch. So those are some of the ones that stick out to me. I know if you guys looked up Premier League goals this season, those would be in there for sure. But
Definitely.
I mean, if I had a recency bias, it'd be Sonny's goals from winning the Golden Boot. He had an amazing banger against Norwich, but those other ones I think were just a bit more quality, but his matter at the end of the day to get his Golden Boot.
Definitely. Those are fun. I'm going to have to go watch a compilation after this just to relive.
Got some EDM house music in the background.
Exactly. I'm sure NBC Sports has already posted something, so I'll go back and watch it. But we're going to move on to our last segment, and this is the team of the year, but it's with a twist. We're not going to be boring like all the other commentators that you watch on TV, where they only choose between Manchester City and Liverpool players.
Looking at you, Gary Neville.
Yeah, all you guys. Yes, you're right. Those are probably the best overall teams on paper, but we're going to switch it up today, where we can only choose one player per team to fill our 4-3-3 Premier League team of the year. So this was actually sort of tough. We were going through and
tough.
I will talk about it, but I guess we'll start with the manager. What do you think?
So I think if we're going to do the manager, I think we sort of talked about it in the manager of the year debate. I say we just throw Eddie Howe at the helm. We'll give him the reins. I think he deserves a shout there for manager of the season. So I'll give Eddie Howe the keys to the team.
I'll agree with you.
Good. Okay, so we're on the same page so far.
I was just gonna say, I think Brendan Rodgers could be up there because they finished still pretty high, and they were like quiet this year. But Brendan Rodgers is a great coach, finishing above Eddie Howe and Bruno Lage from Wolves. So yeah, but I mean, I think Eddie Howe. We'll give it to him because we mentioned him earlier.
So basically, we're going to frame it as a 4-3-3. I think the
goalkeeper is
the easy one to start with.
Sort of.
Jose Sa for Wolves. I think he's a player that really kept Wolves in contention for most of the season. If we're going to be doing one player from each team, I think he's the one that kept them around for a long time, made some great saves. I think he had a good amount of clean sheets, but also had to make a lot of saves, so just high volume. I think we could give him the keeper gloves in the back. It's hard to choose between him and Aaron Ramsdale if we can only have one per team. So if we didn't have an Arsenal player in the field, I would give Ramsdale a shot as well. But Jose Sa, I think, deserves the goalkeeper of this season on this one.
Right, yeah. So we have Newcastle represented at the manager position with Eddie Howe. Jose Sa, I think he's probably deserving over Ramsdale. Ramsdale got a lot of hype, but I think that's just the English media hyping up an English player, to be honest. And also Saka could be in this midfield if we really wanted him to. So we'll go with Jose Sa for the goalkeeper position. I think that's definitely fair enough.
Who would you put at left back?
Left back, there's two that come to mind. It's Mark Cucurella from Brighton, and that's who I'll give it to. He was just a beast up and down the left flank for Brighton. Obviously, not a lot of people watch those games, but I've watched a couple of their games, and he is a player that stands out for them. I don't know if it's because of his hair. it's not just because of his hair. All the English media keep saying that too. I'm like, what does his hair have to do with it? He's a great player. Like, he's very, very good. So, yeah, I'll give it to Mark Cucurella, but Tyreek Mitchell, an Englishman, who I think he just got his first call-up last call-up cycle, whatever, plays for Palace, also had a really good season, also young. So he'll be one to look out for in the future.
And then we hit the center back position. For me, I would put Antonio Rudiger here from Chelsea. I think that he had a really, really good season.
He did.
And it's hard because Chelsea do have some good midfielders that we could potentially put in the center midfield position. But I think for me, I would weigh him as being one of the better center backs of the Premier League. And I think better than some other options that are available. So for me, I'm going to put Rudiger here from Chelsea as my Chelsea player. You may not agree, but I feel like that's who I would put for the center back position on this one.
Yeah, I think he was very integral in their success this year. Yeah, he might have been their. I don't know if he's their best player. I don't know, but it's definitely fair. I was gonna put Kai Havertz or Mason Mount in the midfield. I think Mason Mount. Mason Mount ended with 11 goals and 10 assists. Very sneaky, very impressive. 11 goals, 10 assists for Mason Mount. So that's who I was going to pick in the midfield for one of our three midfield positions. So that's why I didn't put Antonio there.
I'll explain my decision when we get to it of who does make it instead.
That's fair. So I put Pontus Jansson from Brentford there. I was looking at some statistics, and he was always like in the top 5 in a lot of those like defensive stats, which I was really surprised to see, to be honest. He also used to play at Leeds. Just a fun fact. So really good defender. And I'm really actually pretty excited to see where Brentford goes from this year. You know, if they have, second season hangover, or if they keep pushing up the table. They're pretty fun to watch this year. So, yeah, I'll go with Pontus Jansson in that first center back position. The second one, though, I was having a hard time choosing between these two players, and it's James Tarkowski from Burnley and Mohamed Salisu from Southampton. I think Salisu is normally like a left back, but they transitioned him to more of a center back role, and I think he did really well. Again, statistically did pretty well as well.
I think I remember us talking about him a couple of weeks ago as well, talking about his performances.
Yeah. He played pretty well this year. But I'll give it to James Tarkowski, who Burnley's going down. He's a Premier League player. He will be playing for a Premier League team next year. He was always way too good for Burnley. So, and he'll be on a free as well. I actually just read today. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of teams coming in for him.
That's got to be tough to be Burnley. You would love to have seen him at least get bought for a couple million, but that's tough to see him to walk out the door like that.
Yeah, Burnley's business model maybe isn't the best. We'll see. But yeah, Pontus Jansson and James Tarkowski for me. I don't know how you feel about that.
No, I think I feel good. I think Tarkowski I feel pretty good about. The right back position I think we also may come to an agreement with as well. I think we're going to slot in Matty Cash in from Villa as our right back. He, especially towards the end of the season, I think showed that he's up for those big moments. And with that goal, was it against Man City did he score? Or was the game before he scored a goal, I think?
He did score in the Man City game, this final game. Yeah, he scored a header.
So I think he showed his quality. Obviously, you could probably speak more to it. But for me, I think he slots in as we're on this model as our right back.
Yeah. He was really good. He's really grown into this right back role where he's bombing down the field, almost more like a winger, like just playing so high up the pitch. His offensive output has grown to be better throughout the season. His defensive output has also gotten a lot better throughout the season. He's just becoming more well-rounded. He's a Polish international player now. And he's also pretty young. So I think Matty Cash is probably a fair shot there. And And I think we just move right along to center defensive midfielder or holding midfielder.
Which is a guy, for me personally, I hope doesn't leave.
Mm-hmm.
I hope this guy sticks around with West Ham. Talking about Declan Rice, he had a great year. His name is going around the transfer rumors for easily 150 million probably at this point. No way I think West Ham could let him go for less. But yeah, he had a really solid year. West Ham at one point was flirting with the top four. They kind of really tailed off at the end there. They were in a Europa League semifinal. They kind of, fell short there as well. But really, West Ham, I think, not overachieved, but show what they're capable of this season. And Declan
Definitely.
Rice was a centerpiece of that for West Ham.
Yeah, it's him or his counterpart, Thomas Suchek. Those two in the midfield are absolute beasts. They are so good. They both can score goals. They both can create assists. They're menaces in the box.
This isn't the same position, but Jared Bowen, those three with West Ham's midfield are really, really good.
Yeah, Jared Bowen out on the wing. Like this West Ham, I think they need a top striker. But they are really solid, man, and I think they'll be sitting up there for years to come, especially with a really good coach in David Moyes. So, I'll give it to Declan Rice, but yeah, Suchek is also worth a shot there.
So this position, the center midfield position, is I think where I was differing from you. I think you had some Chelsea guys here. This is where I was going to throw in Bukayo Saka. I think he had a solid season. He deserves at least a shot. In that central midfield position, maybe sort of a bit of a winger sometimes.
He can play. I put center mid there, but these guys they can play on the right, on the left. Center attacking, whatever it is.
So I was gonna give him the shout there. Him or Conor Gallagher from Palace. Those young guys I think deserve some recognition. And for me, having Rudiger from Chelsea there, not gonna give it to the guys that you might have given it to.
Yeah. Kai Havertz, was moved around a lot. I spent a lot of time sort of at this false nine role. So if you want to call it, if that's a midfielder, if it's not, I don't know. But he ended the year with 8 goals, 4 assists. Pretty good for Kai. He's also a really good player. But Mason Mount, like I said earlier, with 11 goals, 10 assists, he has to be in there for me. Yeah, I'll go with Mason Mount for that second midfield position.
And I think the rest of them are pretty undisputed. I think the 3 of them are the ones in the Player of the Year debate. So you had Kevin De Bruyne, no doubt about it, taking that central midfield position, the Premier League Player of the Year, and our honorary one of them at least. And then on the left wing, we had Heung-min Son, our undisputed Player of the Year. On the right wing, Mohamed Salah, and up top, maybe the one that could have surprised some people, Cristiano Ronaldo. You feel pretty good about that?
Yeah, I thought Cristiano Ronaldo was more important to Man U than David De Gea was. Again, that's very arguable, but I was just thinking, like, in this system, he was the best striker left in the league. So... And, there's obviously some good goalkeepers. So that's why I put Cristiano over De Gea for a Man U player. But, yeah, I think this team looks pretty good. It's sort of weird to, like, imagine, like, people are like, you chose that person for this? Well, like we said, there's a twist on this whole thing. It's a little bit more – it's harder, right, to choose these players that you can only choose one per team. So, yeah, what were you going to ask?
Could this team win the Premier League?
Oh, against the current
champions?
No. They could maybe finish in the Europa League spot though. I don't know. I mean, okay, the top half of the field is absolutely phenomenal. That's like best. I think world 11.
That's the thing. I think if you had Tarkowski and Rudiger as your center backs, you have a good shout.
Yeah,
good shot.
That's
Matty
true.
Cash is solid. Yeah. And then, if you have Cucurella, maybe. I mean, they could slide into the top 4.
Yeah, Europa League top 4. I think that's a good shout, actually. Winning the league, though?
No.
Nah, I don't think so, at least.
No, not for me. But that's fun. That's a good twist.
Fun.
That's a good look at the Premier League players of the year in a twisted kind of way. But man, it felt good to be back. That's our Premier League roundup for the 2021-2022 season. Arguably probably one of the best Premier League seasons in history. Not often do you get a chance for every team to have a chance to play for something on the last day of the season, and we got it. We came down to the last minutes, the last seconds of the season with things to play for. Teams staying up that weren't supposed to stay up, teams that went down that weren't expecting to go down, and just an incredible title race. And, I feel pretty good going into next season as a Tottenham fan. I know Villa's got a bright future. But we can't wait to now continue to press F5 on transfer rumors, refreshing, seeing what Fabrizio Romano's got up his sleeve. So here we goes, and what these chairmen and teams can come up with in the transfer window. But we'll definitely keep you guys updated on that here at the Bad Fan. We're excited to talk and see about a Premier League preview coming down the road, I'm sure. But today has been good to be back with you guys, and about wraps things up. Thank you for tuning in today, taking the time to listen with us. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. It's free and it only takes a second of your time. And if you haven't already, please subscribe if you're not already a Bad Fan. We're trying to grow the channel, get to 100 subs by the end of the summer. So if you want to help us get there, don't be afraid to share this video with a friend. And we would greatly appreciate that. And you can get involved in the comments here. You can get involved in the comments on Instagram. Give it a follow there if you haven't already as well. Find us on Twitter. We have some good content, tweeting along with live events, the latest news, all of that on our Twitter account. And if you need to find your way to those places, you can find the link tree in the description below of this video to find your way to those channels. Well, thank you again for joining us, all of us here at the Bad Fan today, with Brandon and I missing out on Steve. Steve, hope you feel better, buddy. And we hope you guys have a great day. We will see you in the next one, and if you want to wait until then, we'll see you in the next Premier League season. But for today, it's going to be some peace out from Brandon and I. We'll see you in the next video.